Still on the continent, the situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is becoming the figurative basket case following the capture of the border town of Goma by M23 rebels who are being accused of enjoying financial and logistical support from neighboring Rwanda. The rebels are said to be consolidating their gains, while President Felix Tshisekedi and his troops are battling to halt their advance. Meanwhile, South Africa is finally in the diplomatic fray arising from the conflict in the Congo, and many analysts are wondering to what extent this can go in complicating or de-escalating the tense situation. Now, Gedeon Baleke is the Secretary General, African Coalition for Development. He joins us now to discuss the M23 rebels' seizure and control of Goma. Reports that soldiers are spilling into Rwanda as fighting intensifies, as well as possible pathway to peace in the region. Good day. I wanted to say thank you very much for joining us here on Newsday. And I would like to start it off. Gedeon, talk to me. Of course, in time past, Rwanda has actually denied their involvement or funding of M23. At the moment, is it being confirmed that they are being backed both financially and logistically by the state itself?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the channel. The denial of Rwanda in terms of support of M23 is surprising because, look, all this involvement have been majorly documented by various UN reports. I myself, I was there a few weeks ago in the North Kivu, Goma, a city now is being controlled by the M23, and we have tangible proof of Rwandese soldiers being involved in the operations in the DRC. If the city of Goma actually fell into the hands of the M23, it's because of the 10,000 special forces from the Rwandese Defense Forces that crossed the border from Gisenyi to come in support of them when they were facing a resistance of the Wazalendo movement, which is working with the FRDC, the Congolese Armed Forces, at the battle that was happening 2 days ago at the airport of Goma. The Rwandese, he's highly involved into the current situation that is happening in the DRC, and continue denying it is like a mockery to everyone because it's known by everyone. The South African forces are there and they know that, of course, Rwanda is involved, and they have more than 10,000 people from the Rwandese troops who are highly and actively involved into the current crisis into the DRC.
All right, thank you so much for outlining that. We certainly hear you on that. But what role have regional economic interests played in prolonging this M23 conflict beyond the commonly discussed ethnic tensions?
Well, you have to first and foremost acknowledge that the Eastern DRC is a mineral-rich area where economic interests align with private interests, and that's what has resulted to a conflict. The M23 control one of the largest mines of coltan in the world, the Rubaya mining, and that's where they're getting the finance in collaboration, of course, with Rwanda and Uganda to buy ammunitions and to have funding that is sponsoring the current war into the DRC. So you have to understand it's a complex conflict that has a lot of actors, even actors at the international level through multinational corporations that purchase those minerals, they sell them to the European Union, and so on and so forth. As Rwanda, which is considered as an avenue for the trade of those minerals. So most of the minerals are being certified in Rwanda and Uganda in order to be traded outside to the European Union and other countries all across the globe.
All right, talk to us about the effectiveness of MONUSCO in the region.
MONUSCO has been actively involved into the war by protecting first and foremost civilians, and by coordinating operations under a special mission of the MONUSCO, coordinating operations with the FRDC. They've been effectively doing that, but in terms of capacity, they have not had capacity to respond to these ammunitions, especially highly sophisticated weapons for the Rwandese defense forces that are being used in this war, such as the signal jamming machineries that are being used. You know, they actually used to jam the network of airplanes, even civil airplanes, which is a serious violation of the international civil aviation. They used to do that in Goma with the support of the RDF. So all those show that in terms of capacity, the M23 has sophisticated weapons that are being provided by the UPDF, Ugandan Defense Forces, and the Rwandese Defense Forces combined together. And that's why they are having this advantage. And that's why we're calling upon the Security Council to react by, enforcing the capacity of the UN peacekeepers, because they have to be protected. Some of them have lost their lives into the battle, being killed by the Rwandese Defense Forces, which is again a violation for the international, a violation of the UN Charter international principles, knowing that Rwanda is a contributor as well to the peacekeeping troops with their mission in Mozambique. This is a red line, and I think the international community should take a bold step to impose sanctions on Rwanda and to exclude them for troop contribution because of these grave violations of the international principles.
We certainly hear you on that. Now let's talk about the strength of this peace agreement. We've seen previous peace agreements fail. From your perspective, why was that the case, and what makes this current one, the situation, different?
Well, we've had two major peace agreement processes, namely the Nairobi processes and the Luanda process. The Nairobi process is basically between the DRC with all the rebel groups that are operating into the DRC to try to find a solution for a demobilization of those armed groups and the social insertion of those armed groups into the normal life. And that was a nice process being led by the former president of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta. But unfortunately, the M23 boycotted the Nairobi process. They wanted to be part of the Luanda process. The Luanda process, which was between the Congolese government and the Rwandan government, where the Congolese government had one specific condition. This main condition of the Congolese government is for the Rwandese forces to withdraw from the Congolese territory. The Rwandese armed forces has to withdraw its forces from the Congolese territory. That was the first condition. The second one was to stop highly politically and economically and military support, to stop the support they've been offering to the M23. That was the second condition. And from the Rwandese side, their conditions was forcing the Congolese government to negotiate directly with the M23. You can't take a country like a Congo, a state, to negotiate with an armed group that is being supported by an external entity or another foreign country. That is completely unacceptable. So for the government of Congo, they insisted on that. They want the Rwandese forces to withdraw from the Congolese territory. They wanted the Rwanda to stop supporting the M23, and that was a deal done for them to the Luanda process. But unfortunately, Paul Kagame ended up boycotting the entire Luanda process, and that's why we are under this critical situation now.
On a final note, Gedeon, we have about 1 minute. How effective has SADC's intervention been compared to other regional peacekeeping efforts?
They've been highly important because they've helped us to protect the airports, and one of the biggest storage of ammunitions in the North Kivu. It's been highly effective, and we applaud their support and what they are doing to stand in solidarity with Congolese under this critical time.
All right, Gedeon, we want to say thank you very much for joining us. Gedeon Baleke, the Secretary General, African Coalition for Development. Thank you for joining us here on Newsday.